Fans of a Horus Heresy, resin armoured vehicles, and getting a snug fit. Thank you very much for joining me for a quick video where I'm just going to answer a question from a viewer. And this question came up on Instagram of all places. And the question was from Aleutian Wolves, and it was about the Sicaran tank. And he said something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing here, Leaky, how do you get such a nice fit on your Sicaran hulls? How do you get the track so snug fitting? And well, it's kind of a hard thing to show on a completed model, but fortunately I've got a work in progress Sicaran. And I thought I would use that as a way of answering that question and showing how I go about assembling a tank, the thought process. And this is a lot to do with one of our favourite topics in the Horus Heresy, which is Forge World instructions. So today's guest star is this handsome vehicle, and this is the Legiones Astartes Sicaran Venator Tank Hunter. This is part way constructed, it's not finished yet, and it's a great looking vehicle. And I'm going to use it to answer Aleutian Wolf's question. And first up, whoops, we appear to have got a solar auxiliary tank gunner infiltrating the vehicle, and he's put a multi-laser on it. So this is like the ghost of CS Gotto reaching the Sicaran Venator. So I think we better take him away before I get angry comments. So we're going to be demonstrating it with this vehicle. Before we get on to that bit, we first need to talk about the instructions. And here we have the instructions that come with the Sicaran Venator. These are one of the older style, what we call photocopy sheets. We have an exploded diagram showing all the parts. A page showing, let's say, partway through the construction. The little bits of details. And then Robert's your father's brother, the completed tank. Now, we're not really interested in most of this. What we're interested in is this page, because this is where I would call out to you to do something different to what the instructions are showing. And the instructions are showing to take, in this case, the left track unit, but you could just as easily do it with the right. And then build the three hull components, the lower one, so the engine, the lower hull, and the front glacis plate. And then it's suggesting you, in some unspecified order, drop the right track unit on along with the main hull. And referring to our parts list, there are four main hull components. The upper hull or main hull, the hull floor, the engine or rear hull, and then the front glacis plate. And if you do this, I think you are guaranteed to get a suboptimal outcome in terms of your fit. And there's one very straightforward reason for that, and that is just a general precision of the parts on these vehicles. These are resin models, they're cast out silicon molds. So there is some size distortion that occurs between the original master and then the final production kit. And it's not a lot, but even a fraction of a millimeter can be noticeable when you're putting something like this together. And what tends to happen is one of these pieces will be a little bit narrower than one of the others. And if you do this, you'll get a gap somewhere. So it might be with the lower hull, it might be with the engine, it could be with a front glacis plate in theory. In the case of a Sicaran, you'll generally get it with the front glacis plate because it's just a smidge narrower than these two. Also, the upper hull, or the main hull, is just a little bit too wide for the interlocks. So what I do about it is a bit like, I can't remember, some old comedian from the 1980s who used to be good at playing bad piano. And the punchline to the gag was, as they tapped out a complete assault on the ears from this poor piano, was to say, I'm playing all the correct notes, just not necessarily in the right order. And these instructions are exactly like that. They show you where the parts go, but not necessarily the best order in which to get a good finish. I wouldn't do this, and I don't do this. And what I tend to do is when I've got a hull which is central to something, as the Sicaran has, the Land Raider kits do, Land Raider Proteus kits do, the Sabre did to a lesser degree, but it's still, Sabre does still. Let me think what else. This would also apply to like the super heavy Land Raider platform tanks and even the newer Arctors. So this principle holds true across a lot of Legion resin vehicles. And what I do is this. I build the central section first. I'm going to get rid of the neutron blaster or the neutron beam cannon for the moment. So while it looks great, it's going to get in the way of it. Now, the reason I do this is to help me get the best possible alignment of parts around, around the center, and to get them lined up with one another. And you can see from the top here, we have just that. We have a nice alignment in terms of where it's going to be visible, at least, with this piece, the main hull and the front glacis plate. We can also see maybe not quite so neatly done. It's not quite so neatly lined up at the rib. There's a good reason for that. And then also under here. And you can see there's one of the slight differences in width that I was talking about. And again here. So what I do is I build this section first, but I do it in conjunction with the side track units because you need to get the fit right with these to build this first. And as you can see, this has got a really nice consistent looking fit. There's a slight gap there. And you can see how there isn't a gap on the other side, and that is the distortion issue I'm referring to. Now, I don't mind about that. It's on the underside of the vehicle. It's not particularly apparent. And likewise, at the rear, you can't see that much going on there. And then we've got a nice fit coming around here. Now, so what I do is I get everything cleaned up, and then I start doing test fitting. If anything needs heat bending, I heat bend it. In terms of this particular tank, what I did first, the first part I glued is a glacis plate to the main hull. And that was just because after doing lots of dry fits, I felt it was the one where I needed to get the joint first to get it looking right. And I'd like to think that I've got a nice fit there. And then, now let me see, which did I do second? I think I then stuck the floor on. Yes, I did. I then stuck the floor on, again, test fitting. Being careful to keep the glue central, because if you don't, you'll be test fitting. You put these on, and then it's stuck forever. And then finally, I'd put the rear hull with the engine in it on. Through this process, I also found that the fit at the top was a little bit wide. So these joins here, a little bit wide. And I took a bit of material off here. Yeah, I think it was mainly there. It's just there, and I think I might have just done a little bit of chamfering and stuff at the other edges, which you can't see. And that just closed up that fit. And the end result was, certainly as far as I'm concerned, it's a fit that I'm very pleased with. And once it's stuck together, that's as good as it will ever get, I think. And in a nutshell, I think it's that. Look for the hull design and, think you want it all to be straight. All the elements of the hull you want to be in line. But at the same time, you need to be test fitting it against the tracks to ensure everything goes together smoothly and snugly as well at the end of the day. This is work in progress, as you'll probably guess. So there's a lot of work left to finish. So these bits here are not being where I've done a bit of filling to restore the shape of the mud guards. Those are the fenders, as I like to call them, over on the west side of the Atlantic. They need a little bit of reshaping, which is a common feature to this kit. That's my approach to dealing with getting a good fit on these Sicaran tanks, but I use the same principle on all similar Forge World vehicles that I work on. And as I say, the instructions show you where the parts go, but they certainly don't show you the optimum order in which to assemble those. So that's my recommendation and how I do it. And I've had a lot of success, I like to think, when it comes to building heresy vehicles. So I hope that answers your question, Illusion Wolves, and indeed anyone else who is wondering about how to get a good fit on one of these resin Forge World kits for the Heresy or indeed Warhammer 40,000. And just because I think he looks rather cool, I'm going to put Mr. Solar Auxilia back in the cupola with this Pinter weapon, just to, give a little bit of a tribute to CS Scotto as we go out on this video. As always, I hope you found this a useful video and an informative one as well as to how to put one of these tanks together. Hope it helps you with your hobby. As always, please do share your thoughts and observations in the comments section. I'm very interested to hear those. But other than that, I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you next time, and goodbye.